Um, so welcome everyone to the autumn birch trees. Um, I love birch trees. I think they're so unique, and I'm hoping that you will enjoy this drawing um, too. I forgot to mention my name's Anita Thompson for those that don't know me. And I teach art workshops mostly for libraries. And I think it's the most fun and best job. And I feel very lucky to be able to do it and to share this with you this evening. So let's get started. You can see that this is a square. So this is a 6 by 6 inch square. Obviously on my original, oh yeah, close up. Sorry about that. So I'm going to put a close up here. And if you would like to take a picture, if that is helpful for you, I know it's helpful for Debbie. Oh, here, you know what? There we go. Make sure it's straight. So that might be more helpful for you to see the close up. I'll even get it even closer. You're welcome, Debbie. So we've got a lot of colors in there. As you can see, the 10 colors that we'll be using tonight. Okay, so we're going to start off first with our pencil, obviously, and we're going to draw this. So there are, I think it's 8 trees. Hold on. How embarrassing. I have to count my trees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 9. I forgot this little one here. So we've got 9 trees to get into this square. I'm going to move this over a little bit, put a piece of tape on the back of it so that it would sort of stay put as I was teaching. So I'm going to go in a lot closer now so that you are able to see. I wanted to, just show you all the colored pencils that we're using. But again, I will highlight each of those as we go. Okay, so we're going to start off here on the left. And what we're going to do is we're going to be drawing the trees first. So the perspective on the trees. Obviously, we are slightly looking up at this perspective. So our trees look a little bit, they look a little bit strange, right? But I think it is it's sort of an interesting point of view. I've always enjoyed interesting points of view when you're drawing it. Um, oh, sorry, Julie, I just saw your message. I knew you messaged before. No problem at all. All right, so here we're going to start at the top left corner and we're going to go down a bit because our first tree is there. And so I'm going to make this darker than how you should be making it. You always want to draw as if you are creating, I call them whisper lines, right? So that basically you can still see them, but they should be very faint, just enough for you to be able to see. So our trees are going to get larger as they come towards us. Started to kind of make this one just a little bit too large. Okay, so that's this tree right here. And what we're doing first is we're drawing the bodies of the trees first. Okay, and then we will take care of all of the branches. So that is this tree here. We're now going to just take a look at this and we see that our bottom left corner is coming up and we have another tree. So we can see, we can kind of judge and make sure that we get it in the right spot by looking at this bottom left corner. And you can do that for this whole drawing. In order to get things in the right places, you always want to try to see if you can figure out a spot that's going to help you do that. And so here's one of them. We have the corner here. And so now we're going to just move over a little bit and draw our tree. And again, it's at an angle. It gets thinner as it goes up. Now this one is going to sort of stop about right here. We can make the line a little bit wavy. I'm going to make this a little darker just so you can see it. And we're going to be kind of crisscrossing the next tree. And so we can actually start off with this tree right here rather than going to the bottom. And then what we're going to do, so this is this tree right here. And so we're going to curve it. Go down to the bottom. I'm just going to let everybody get caught up. I know I was going a little bit fast there. Now we have a little more space. I'm going to move this over right next to it. So we've got some space in between here. And so now we have the next tree. So here's the space. If I were to take my pencil, you can sort of use your pencil to, kind of tell where you can draw your next. You can kind of like measure almost, right? So it's about right there for the next tree. So what I did is I took my pencil, acted like almost like it was a ruler. Here's the start, and then I see where, in between the two trees are, the space in between, and then I just went like this. So that might be helpful for you. And then we start, it's this tree right here. So we're going to lean a little bit towards the left. And we curve going up towards the top. We come back down, and again, we're going to make it a little bit thicker as it's coming toward us. I'm going to make this just a little bit thicker because my tree looks like a string bean. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. Okay. All right. So now we have the next tree over here. It's very close to it. Oops, sorry. There's my finger. There's the tree. Going up. And we're going to stop about right there. This one's very thin at the top. And as we get to the bottom, kind of curves outward a little bit. And then we have 4 more trees, and they are going to be here along the side. And so we have our first one here. Here's where our corner is, our bottom right corner. And so we have a tree kind of peeking in here. And that's going to go up towards our other tree. I definitely used some artistic licensing when I created this. This is a made-up view. So I started to add 2 trees here that are sort of, they look like they're conjoined, but they're not. We have a bigger, kind of a wider tree happening over here for one of the last trees. So this is over here. And then one more here towards the corner. I'm going to make this a little darker so you can tell that it is in between the tree. I'll let everybody get caught up. If for whatever reason you can't fit all of the trees, it's okay. As long as you have most of the trees in, it's okay if it looks a little bit different. You don't have to stress yourself out. But what you do want to do at this point, if you started getting dark, like I did, you want to just lighten up your lines a bit. So I'm just doing that. And the next thing we're going to do is we are actually going to start using our colored pencils. So we are going to be drawing with our colored pencils at this stage and coloring with them. So you can still have your pencil handy. We're going to be doing it very lightly, so your eraser will still work on your colored pencils. And the first colored pencil that we're going to pick up is our light blue. Excuse me. So what we're going to do with the light blue is we're going to be drawing in the clouds. We're also going to be copying a bit of our trees over in this blue. So again, if your pencil marks are rather dark, you just want to go in and lighten those up. And when you're finished, you're going to recopy your trees in this blue. And it doesn't have to be very dark because we will probably be going back and adding, some more sort of bumps in the trees. So you want to make sure that you're still able at this stage, if you need to do some erasing, you still want to be able to do that. So I'm going darker with my trees just so that you can see it. So we're still talking whisper lines at this point. And just take your time. I'm going to erase my pencil marks, although we will be going back later on and actually using a bit of our black as well with these trees. So it's not the worst case if your pencil marks aren't coming up as much as you want them to with the outlines of the trees, because we can just go over them in black later on. We're gonna put our blue down for a minute. So I'll let everyone catch up still. But the next color that you want to get is going to be your tan. So if you don't have tan, you could use your orange, you could use your brown. And again, it's just going to be a very light application. Excuse me. Okay, so what we're going to do with our tan is first we're going to come here at the bottom and we're actually going to create the center of the branches in the background. And so what I mean by that is, so we're going to come over here and we're later on going to use brown as well, but for right now, we're going to use the tan. And so here's the first one. Oh, if you don't have tan, Julie, you can use brown because later on we're probably going to be adding some brown to it anyway. You're welcome. Absolutely. Yep, you can use brown. So if you, as a matter of fact, I'm going to use brown so that you're able to see. I think you can see that, but just in case, I'm going to use brown. Oops, that's my mahogany. All right, so basically what we're doing here is we are creating, I'm going to show this up close. We are basically creating the center lines, the center sort of branches for our trees in the background here at the bottom. So here's the first one. We have another one that is around right here and here. So these lines are sort of the a suggestion. So this is supposed to be like a suggestion of our background landscape. Okay, there's another one. Another one. We're going to be doing some basic ones right now, and then later on we'll add some more in. We'll make one more over here. And then we're still going to be using this tan or brown, whichever you're using. I'll wait for everybody to catch up. I'll wait another few seconds. So the next thing that we are going to be doing is we're now going to be lightly outlining the shapes of the background landscape all along here at the bottom. Okay, so again, this should be a light application. I'm going to be doing it darker so you can see it. So like I mentioned, so that means all around where the yellow, right, the yellow trees are. So we're going to start here. And again, this is a light application because we don't want this outline to be, so dark, right? Because we have a lot of yellow happening. Okay, so that's the first. It's kind of a weird shape. This is not the most realistic interpretation of this. Just sort of a suggestion here in the background. All right, I'm moving on to this space here. Made that shape. You can use tan. I'm using brown so that it will show up darker for you on screen. If you don't have tan, you can use brown and just use it very lightly. But basically, your lines should look like that. Like, see how light that is in comparison to my brown? So you want it to be light. Okay. So we just did this one here. We're going to continue. Here is the, oh wait, hold on, I got lost. There we are. We're over here. So now we're going to continue in between here. And so we're going to go about here. And we're going to follow that through the trees to right there. And we're going to be going up a little bit. So we kind of go up higher as we go towards the right side here. And we're going to leave this alone for right now. Okay. We are still continuing with our tan. So again, I have brown just so that it is shows up a little darker for you. And we're going to now come up here and we're basically going to be creating the outlines for the tree shapes here. So not so much the leaves, which is what we'll go back and do using sort of a circular pattern, but just the outline of where these groups of leaves will be. So we're going to come over here and basically just make a little bit of an outline here. And I'm over here because we're going to continue with that. Right here. And then we're going to jump up here. And then we make a patch of the sky right here. And we are now going to go a little bit down here. So when you're finished with this part, we're going to go down here. So again, what we're doing is we're just adding a little bit of a border for when we go back and create all this yellow background. I think what we're going to do, let's put this aside for now and pick up our light blue. We've sort of drawn enough of the start of the borders for the trees. So we're now going to change over to our light blue. And now this is going to be where we're going to start to draw in some of the sky here. And so we're going to come back over here on the left, and we're going to basically be drawing the shape here of the sky. And so it doesn't have to be perfectly like mine, but this is going to be about the shape of the sky. right here. So we're going to leave this open because what we're going to do over here is we're going to start to make some circles, which are later going to be where you're going to add in your leaves. So again, this is light blue. We're going to come in this section and we're going to create a shape that looks like that. And with this shape, I want you to color that in with the blue for now. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to color in that shape like so. We'll go back later and make it more varied. But we're going to do that right there. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to draw a little bit of the clouds by making a curved shape like this. Right into where we have the tan over here. And then we're going to come back out and make a little more of that shape. Now we're going to put our blue down for a second, a few seconds actually. And we're going to now pick up our yellow because we're going to go down here and start to add our first layer to our trees down here. And the first layer is yellow. So that is just the regular, we're going to do the golden yellow. Let's see, was this one golden? Yes, here's my golden yellow. Okay. So what we're going to do is you're going to sort of lightly shade in the first layer of where the trees are. And so this is where you created the tan or brown borders. If you get confused, just look up at mine. So I'm going a little bit faster just so that you can see where all the yellow will be. And then I'm going to go back and make this a little bit neater. You're also going to see that I'm going to be erasing or lightening up my brown borders at this point, now that we're adding the yellow, the golden yellow. And just take your time. We're going to continue with that yellow. Up here in the top left corner, remember those sort of circles in blue that I asked you to create? You're going to fill those in with yellow. You're also going to start filling in yellow. The brown that we started over here. So here is one part here. And you can leave some spaces open if you like, because wherever you leave spaces, we're going to add the blue sky. We're going to be doing that anyway. That's why I only had you do the borders up to a point so that we have a little bit more free range with adding in a little more sky. But so as you're going across the top of your drawing, you're going to start to extend your yellow in the middle here. And I'll wait. But we're going to kind of just extend it without there being a border. So here is the sort of extension here in this section here. See how I extended that yellow? And to the left, we're going to do the same. There's going to be sort of an extension here and then another spot of yellow in between. So there's a spot of the white paper here. So I'm going to point to that spot. You're going to see how it's yellow and then yellow. And we're going to have a few spots where that's going to start to happen now for the right side of the trees. But you can see, or hopefully you can see, that we're starting to put down the first layer of the trees. And I always think of drawings and any piece of art in layers. Like what is the bottommost layer? I mean, obviously the bottommost layer in this is the actual pencil, the drawing. And then we start to add our light colors and we build up from there. So we're going to now go in this section, which is going to be right here in between these two trees. So you can see that, and I'm gonna put this up close. So what we're doing is we are going, so here's our first tree. Here's our other two trees here. And we're going right here. See, here is where we started to add a bit of the yellow. So we're here. So you can see that there are some pops of blue here. So we're going to put our yellow off to the side for a few seconds and pick up our blue. Because we're going to create those sky shapes. So again, we are in this section here. We've already created our yellow trees here. And so we're going to start here at the bottom and we're going to create the first shape of the tree. I'm sorry, the sky. And we're going to lightly shade that. And we're going to go up from there. So we have another small spot of sky right there. You have another one over here. And then we're going to go up here. Oops, I'm sorry, over here. And we have one coming over here that is kind of shaped like a blue mustache. So we're going upwards toward the top of our page here. We have one more kind of small one right there. Let everybody get caught up as we work into the next section here of sky. And so we're going to start off with a little small section of sky here. And kind of a bigger blob to the left. And again, right now, these are just light, a light application. This is not a perfect application of the sky color that's here. We're just setting up all of our sections of sky in between the trees. We're kind of doing some of the little blobs first. And we are going to come back over to the right, or I'm sorry, the left, the left-hand side here. And so what we're going to do first is we're going to color in or shade in this whole section because it is sky. And what I like to do is I like to kind of shade it so that a little bit of the white of the paper is still showing through. So I'm actually almost doing like strokes, picking up my pencil, still filling in the spot. And I'm going to go really close now so that you're able to kind of see what I mean. Straighten out my paper here. So again, I'm going around my, the yellow. Because those are the leaves. And when you're finished with that section, you're going to go into this spot and you're going to do that blue as well. This one does not have to be where you're picking up your pencil and making separate strokes. We're just laying in the blue and we'll go back and make it darker afterward, but we're just sort of laying in the sky. And we're going to do that in the next few sections. as we work across the page. So we're laying in the basic colors first of both the trees, well, the leaves, and also the sky. Okay, so we have another shape here to create for our sky. So we are right here. This is this one here. We're going to create this shape, and this shape. All right, so again, we're here. We're going to come here and we're going to make it sort of cloud shaped a little bit. Because the clouds are around it. And then you're going to fill that in. We've got a smaller little piece of the sky right here hopping through. And then we have a bigger piece. Right here. And then you can fill it in. So what you're creating is you're starting to create the clouds by creating the sky shapes as well. Excuse me. We're also going to pop down here for a little blue in this part here. We have one more little blue section here that we're going to draw. So this shape here, and you're going to fill that in. So I'm going to point to that. It's this shape here. It's against this tree or behind it. And we have another one in the next section. Now, if you don't get where, say for instance, if you put a spot of blue where it's not exactly where mine is, that's okay. Because these are just clouds and there's just some sky popping through and it doesn't have to be perfectly like mine. We also have a pop of blue right here. Now, if you need to erase a bit of the yellow before putting that down, you can. And that's also going to bring us to coloring in this pop of blue sky up here. So that should have been kind of outlined in tan, or I know some are using brown, using it lighter. That's also right there. We're going to work in this section right here. So we're going to add some more sky and about right here. You know, we're going to make it just a little bit more, like I said, kind of curvy, since we're going to have clouds that are the white spots of the paper. So you're going to fill this in. And that's going to kind of continue into this next section from this spot here. And it's going to be another sort of cloud shape, but then you're going to fill it in with blue. Because again, this is the sky, and it's right up against the tree here. And we're going to work in this section and add one more of these kind of shapes like this. And you'll fill that in with your blue. And so if you take kind of a step back or a lean back, you can start to look and see that you have a lot of the sky in so far, and it's starting to sort of come together. Excuse me. Okay, so we're gonna now come up here and we're gonna fill this in blue. And again, right now we're just adding, you know, sort of a layer. Doesn't have to be um, anything dramatic yet. And then we're now going to come over here on the right side, and we're going to put down our light blue, and we're going to pick up our black, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start adding in some of the black shapes in the trees. So we're now going to be working a little bit on the trees. So you want to grab your black, and we're going to start over here, and we're going to add a little bit of some shading here along the edge, like so. But then we're going to start adding shapes. And filling those in by going, again, a little bit light for right now. What I'm doing is I am sort of scribbling a bit so that it's not a perfect, it's not really a perfect shape. And we're going to do that for all of these shapes. We're kind of trying to recreate the texture of the birch. And so we are concentrating on this first birch right here. So I'm going here on the left side and adding, adding some shapes, and then kind of popping over on the right side and adding, just added these two. We're going to keep going up the birch here. And when you're ready, you're going to take your black and you're going to start to do a little bit of outlining using your black. But what you're going to do is in some parts, you're going to make the line a little wiggly and a little bit darker. So for instance, right here, I made it a little darker, and then I'm going to go lighter with my line as I go up towards the sky because it's further away from us. And so you can make it darker, the line, I mean, using the black as we are coming closer toward here. And so now that is really reading like a tree already. And we're going to go to the next one here. And so I think we're going to do some outlining for the rest of these. But again, we're going to start off very light. This is our black still, and then get a little bit darker as you come toward sort of the front here. And then again, very light, just barely covering over the blue that we did before. We're going to do the same with this one, but going incredibly light until we get to the bottom here. We get a little darker with the rest of the trees here on the right side. But again, we still get light as we start to extend upward into the tree, barely using the black on the blue colored pencil that we did earlier. Keep going with your outlining. If you're unsure, just make a light line with your black covering over the blue line that you created earlier, but also, knowing that it gets darker as it's closer to us, the line, and it's lighter as it gets to the top of the trees. So if that's helpful. Now, once you have copied the trees, this is where we're going to go back and create the shapes on top of the birch trees. So this is using, again, our black. And so you're going to vary your lines in each tree as you're going up again, and again, getting lighter with your black as you're making those marks, so that as it's getting to the top of the tree, it's sort of almost disappearing. So you're making individual marks for the birch tree. You can start to also add curved marks like this. So not only sort of these, kind of odd shapes of black, but then also starting to add in, the sort of cuts in the birch trees, those curved kind of cuts. So again, this is, each mark does not have to look exactly like mine. But basically something like along the lines of what we're doing here, where you're doing a combination, and if you feel more comfortable, if you want to add these in first, these curved lines, you can do that. I like to kind of alternate on either side of the tree making these lines. And then I go back and add some of those bigger, you know, kind of dark gray, black areas of the tree, the bigger, um, sort of the bigger shapes. So I've added, those sort of curved dented lines. And now I'm going to go back and I can sort of just add some more random shapes along with, making it look like there's sort of like oval cuts in the wood. Like here's one here that I created, right? And then we have sort of some, big one, kind of a big one down on this tree. Here again, it doesn't have to be perfect. There's no rhyme or reason to these shapes, except that you want to make it look like, the wood of a tree, kind of like the wood grain. And some of those key elements we just talked about is sort of the sort of curved black lines in a birch. Yeah, I know it's hard if you make it too even. Um, you can kind of try and spread out your but I know it's real. I know when I find myself making it too even, I either start to add a strange shape and then I feel like it sort of evens out. When you are ready, you're going to pick up your light blue again. And we're now going to go over our trees with this light blue. And so what you're going to do is you're going to make strokes, light strokes. I'm going to show you the original here. So what I did was I took the blue, and sometimes I sort of added a shade of blue underneath or on top of each of the black areas that I did, and then added strokes of blue, staying in the middle of each of the trees so that the white of the paper serves as the brightness of the sky or the sun. So see that? We're also going to go back in and add tan. So that's this color you see too. But underneath is the light blue. So again, let's get started with that. So let's start first with adding a scribble of blue on top of each of the black areas that we added to each tree. So again, this doesn't have to be perfect either. You're just literally scribbling kind of quickly on top of each blue area. And it doesn't even have to cover the whole thing. What purpose this is serving is it's sort of like a bit of a shadow on each of those sections. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's far away and it is sort of a glimpse. It's not a super realistic drawing, but this will give it just enough to read that, you know, there are some shadow shapes happening on the tree. And you should already see a difference once you added that blue. So you're going to add that to all the trees. And when you're ready, you're going to put your blue down for now and pick up your tan. If you don't have tan, you can use your brown. And this is where you're going to lightly shade in the middle of each tree. So I'm scribbling and sometimes picking up my pencil to sort of make it look like individual strokes. So for instance, again, see this one? You can actually see the strokes. So you want to aim for that. But again, leaving, if you can, either side of the tree, the white of the paper. So you're going to do that for all of these. And again, this is sort of a quick, you know, this is also a quick application. Now we're going to actually pick up our yellow green. And we're going to add some dots of scribbling using the green on top of the yellow in this section here at the top sort of each tree. And you're going to do that again for each area of the trees that are down below here. So again, this doesn't have to be super perfect either. What we're trying to accomplish is that we are adding some greenery in with this yellow. It gets a little bit darker here at the bottom, so we're just adding the green for now on top. And once you do that, you're going to pick up your harvest yellow if you have it. And you're going to start adding in some of that harvest yellow right below the green. And you're really going to be pressing. So this is where now we're going to start having this color be vibrant and more fiery. If you don't have the harvest yellow, you can do it with your golden yellow, you know, getting really vibrant, and then adding a bit of orange on top of it. So again, we're kind of doing this with the trees down below for right now. Excuse me. And we're going to start adding it to the top of the trees as well. So again, if you have that harvest, sort of that, you know, harvest gold, I think I called it harvest yellow. It's harvest gold. You're going to now add it to the yellow up top. And what you can do is I like to add the harvest gold to the edges of where the yellow is. So do you see, especially on this one, what the harvest gold is doing is it's a little more vibrant, and I'm going around in circles as I'm coloring. So I'm going to show this up close. So see how the harvest gold along the edges makes it very vibrant, and then it's a little bit more of the yellow, the golden yellow in the middle. Now here again, it's not super important to do this, but it gives it a nice contrast. And then guess what? You're going to go into the spaces that we didn't color yellow yet on the right side around where we created the blue. but staying a little bit up top in this one. So still leaving a bit of that space, the white of the paper, because we have to go back in and create some shading for some of the sky. So sticking with a little bit of yellow at the top of the paper and leaving spots that are still open to add the blue in right here at the top of the paper, kind of the middle of the paper, actually, I should say. We're going to be grabbing our tan next. And again, if you don't have tan, you can use brown lightly, and then using your golden yellow. And we're going to start at the bottom with our tan. And what we're going to do, we're going to now start layering on top of the yellow, but we're using this tan to kind of go towards the middle here and the bottom of the tree area. So see, I'm going right on top and scribbling. And what that's going to do is you're still going to be able to see the yellow coming through. And so you're going to do that for each section of the trees along the bottom. Again, this is tan. If you don't have the tan, you can use brown, because we're going to be going on top of this as well afterward, and using the mahogany. So again, all across the bottom of each tree, you're using your tan, you're kind of scribbling from the bottom upwards. Making sure to also go up into the sides of the right side of your paper. We're going to do the same thing at the top as well. But we're going to first create some round, sort of leaf-like shapes. And this is with, at first, our tan. And so we're going to go into, on the left side here, we're going to start making some circles, or even, football-like shapes. You can go in the sky. You can also go in this cloud area that we haven't finished up yet. But more importantly, you're going to add it in the yellow parts of the trees. And so what I'm doing is literally going through and adding in separate circles to make it seem like those are leaves. You can kind of bunch them together. And we're going to be adding red and brown, or I should say mahogany and brown too. But we're sort of layering, and you can start going on the white parts of where we haven't really touched yet, because those are leaves that are falling. So you're building up the texture. You can even make bigger sections using this tan by sort of scribbling in a section. And also going below into our tree areas at the bottom, you can add some kind of circular areas using this tan. Now, when you're ready, you're going to, so this is mahogany. So your next color, when you're ready, when you're finished with the lighter colors, we are going to add some fire to each of your branches, or I'm sorry, not branches, your leaves. And at the bottom here, what I do is I sort of concentrate, I start off at the bottom of each section, but then I kind of concentrate certain areas. Like I make like a kind of like a line of color and fill it in a little, almost like, it's leaves or branches. And then sometimes I'll color in a spot a little darker. And so do that all across. The bottom, and then we're going to go into the top, again adding the sort of the roundish circles that we were adding. If everybody's okay with it, we're probably going to add another 7 minutes. I was going to say 5, but it might be more like 7. But we're almost there. And when you're ready, you're going to go up top again into your trees, and you're now going to start adding circles and areas of red. Mahogany, sorry, mahogany. So again, sometimes I come to a section and I start to kind of scribble a little bit of mahogany over it. And then I add some mahogany to sort of a circular or leaf sort of shape to make it seem like, um, it's a cluster of red leaves, or at least red tinged leaves. And you can go back and add some brown even, to make it a little bit darker. Um, what I do with the brown is I kind of give it like a little bit of a once over just by concentrating in sections with my brown, almost like adding a light layer of brown over some sections just to give it a little bit more of a golden, kind of a golden glow. But again, this is also just really quick, just to sort of golden up some of the yellow areas. Maybe I want it to be a little more brown. I especially like to do it at the tops of the curved areas of the tree sections, here at the bottom, the tree shapes. So I just add like a little bit of, see how I'm adding a little bit of brown to the curved areas. Just kind of gives it a little bit of a kind of a goldish brown kind of glow, I guess. Maybe not a glow, shading. I guess I should really say shading. And we've got two more things to do to this, possibly three. We're going to grab our blue and we're going to now go into the sky. So this is regular blue. And we're going to make the sky a little bit darker in sections. Remember the sections that we kind of created here? I like to make it a little bit darker using the regular blue, where I'm sort of outlining the shape of the sky section and then adding some dark blue. And then we're going to go over it one more time in each section with the light blue. So again, first I outline the sections where we have the blue sky, and this is with the blue, regular blue. Then I add a little bit of some darker blue to one section of the sky. Usually that section is where it's kind of outlining a cloud. These white parts are our clouds, and we haven't gone in yet to just add a little bit of shading to those. but we will. Be careful in this, left corner, top left corner here, kind of going around your leaves that we already drew. I kind of outline those a little bit with the blue and then shade around them on the sky area. I know there's a lot of sky sections. Then when all is said and done, you can quickly go over your sky areas using your light blue to sort of make everything come together in the sky. Now, you don't have to have every part of the sky, um, using, or I should say, you can have some white of the paper showing through some of your sky. But here again, I take my light blue on top of the dark blue that we added, and then just sort of use strokes on top of it so that it looks a little more, or I should say a little less solid. And then when you're ready, you can do some shading on your clouds using your light blue. So you're going to imagine basically that you've got these, puffy clouds, and you can do some shading in order to kind of make the puffy parts like so. I like to shade around the edges of where the cloud meets the sky. So it basically softens the edge of the round parts of the clouds. That's kind of what I do with the light blue. And then sometimes I just add a little bit of some shading kind of in a spot or two on a cloud. But mainly what I do is I just take the light blue and I soften up around the edges of where the cloud is. And then I might extend that shading a little bit into the white part of the cloud. Here again, you can add some, light strokes by picking your pencil, your blue pencil up and down. And our last part is taking our black and creating some of the final, um, some of the branches here up top. So the ones that are off in the distance up here at the top. So basically just making some kind of random branches coming from, the tree, and making smaller branches kind of intertwined with each other. So here's one right here, and then making some offshoots. Again, mostly at the top. Get another minute, and then can't wait to see what these look like. Oh, it's Jenny. Oh, that's so kind. Thank you for the kind message. Bye, Jenny. Thank you so much. Ooh, oh my gosh, beautiful.
Thank you so much. Bye,
Thank you,
Jenny.
Jenny. Thank you so much. Bye, bud. So I'm going to remove my spotlight. Thanks, Julie. Oh my goodness, beautiful.
Thanks. It was so much fun.
Yay! I'm so glad. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to stop the recording at this point. Let's see. Oops, where is my recording here? There we are. Stop recording.